Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another one of our discipline dialogue sessions. My name is Dr. Mark Schneider. I'm the AVP of K-14 Academic Initiatives and Support with Ivy Tech Community College. All of that is a fancy title to say I help on the academic side of the house for our dual credit programming statewide. So think like course sequencing, prereqs, just anything involving faculty ends up in my corner of the world for K-14. Joining us today to discuss our hospitality program is Chef Bricker. So Chef Bricker, why don't you come off mute and introduce yourself for a second?
Hello, welcome everybody. Chef Jeff Bricker here at the Indianapolis campus. I serve as department chair of this program, but I also serve as chair of the statewide curriculum committee, and happy that you're here with us.
Well, thank you for joining today, Chef Bricker. We appreciate that. Just a few things, even though we are recording this today on December 4th. Last month it was November, and we had on the K-14 side what we called NACEP November. We are in the middle of a reaccreditation or reaffirmation cycle for our NACEP accreditation, which is the dual credit accreditation body nationally. So we are, all that to say, we are looking for great examples for this coming year to submit as we go through our submission cycle. So if you have great syllabi, great assignments, if you want to sit in on a peer review call that we'll do, anything that you'd like to do to lean in on that, we'll need great examples from the hospitality program. Please feel free to reach out to us afterwards. I'll put my name and email in the chat. It'll also be available on the YouTube page if you're watching this recording on YouTube. But reach out to us. We'll be happy to discuss anything and everything that you'd like to show off as we brag about our great program that we have. Now, jumping into some of our talking points here, Chef Bricker, one thing that dual credit instructors and high school teachers, myself included as a former high school teacher, are surprised to find out is that a lot, almost exclusively, the decisions when it comes to programming within the discipline, all of that is driven by faculty by and large. It's not something that's largely, administratively driven or anything along those lines. It's, prereqs, new courses, all that, faculty decisions. Faculty meet at least once a year. Some groups, some programs will meet 3 times a year, once each semester, fall, spring, summer. All that to say, with the recent curriculum committee meetings with hospitality, have there been any updates that have come out of that would potentially overlap with dual credit programming? And if the answer is nothing and everything's status quo, that is always welcomed as well too.
No, thanks, Mark. Actually, there are some updates from our curriculum committee. We decided to expand our career certificates to include another course. So the culinary career certificate now includes HOSP 106 pantry and breakfast, which is on the dual credit pathway. It's part of NLPS. And the other one is on the baking and pastry side. Our pastry culinary certificate includes, I believe it's yeast breads. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeast breads class. Yeast breads are baking science. HOSP 111, 113. Sorry, it's kind of kicking back and forth in my mind. But you will see that on the pathway because it also is in NLPS. And so those career certificates, if you follow NLPS, all the way to capstone, whether it's culinary or baking, your students can complete a career certificate with Ivy Tech by following that linear pathway. And the ideal situation is that they can complete that career certificate in high school. And then when they matriculate to campus, they could work on that technical certificate towards the AAS degree.
Yeah, so you very well kind of teed up the next thing that I always ask our faculty members who join us on these calls. For a dual credit student who is going down this pathway, what are the options that are available to them if they want to, go to Ivy Tech afterwards, or if they, maybe they want to go to a 4-year. I know maybe hospitality doesn't lend itself quite to the transfer agreements that other institutions or like the TSAPs do with other programs. but I'm sure there are some articulation agreements as well. Maybe what are those options for dual credit students after they graduate high school, if they're still really interested in a path down the hospitality culinary route?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. We do have articulation agreements with four-year schools. And what we advise our students to do, if they come and complete the Associate of Applied Science, they only need to do 15 more credits of general ed to get that 30 credit general ed core that transfers. And then we do have agreements in place with IU Indy for their hospitality tourism program. Also with Ball State, their hospitality management baccalaureate sits in the Miller School of Business, and so they could go there. So we have a 2+2 set up through our AS degree. So they would just have to knock out the other 15 credits of Gen Ed at Ivy Tech, and then they could either go to Ball State or IU Indy, or they could also go to Purdue Calumet. That's in the agreement. And I think I mentioned Purdue West Lafayette as well, the HTM program there. So we do have a number of agreements in place for transfer. Purdue Global is in our articulation pool as well. I do want to back up a moment to say also in the curriculum committee meeting, we made a change that everyone should know, and we'll need to send out an email to remind you all in the spring, but we modified our grading scale. You all know from our syllabus that we do, when you submit your syllabus to us, that we asked you to follow the hospitality grading scale. And the committee met recently and decided to modify it a bit. So at the D range, it used to be that 72% was needed to get a D. We changed that to 70. So actually, if you do like 69.5, if you're rounding up, that's now the floor, if you will, for passing. And we did that because we were looking at the fact that ServSafe changed their pass rate to 70%, and Managed First, which is coordinated through the National Restaurant Association Ed Foundation, also their Managed First curriculum is all 70% pass rate. So we said, if the industry standard is 70%, we should have 70% as our pass rate. So you'll want to modify your grading scales for the spring semester to reflect that. And again, we'll send out a reminder to everyone.
That's good to know. I usually ask about grading scales, so you're ahead of the curve.
Okay, sorry.
Uh, no, that's good. That's always hey, I like your.
But one more thing I need to bring up because it's a biggie. Some of you have heard about this a little bit, but um, this program is actually evolving into its own school. Up to now, we reside in the School of Public and Social Services at Ivy Tech, but hospitality administration is shifting to the School of Culinary Arts and Hospitality Management. And you'll see press release about this in January, and our website will roll over in January as well. So you'll see that change coming. We hope that's going to help with building public awareness about the program, increased awareness for sure, that we hope would lead to increased enrollment. But also, I think for dual credit students, just recognizing that they'd be going straight into the School of Culinary Arts as opposed to the School of Public and Social Services, which sometimes, people would find we're maybe 5 clicks deep in the website to find the program. Now we're going to be kind of rising towards the top a little bit in terms of searchability. So we think that's going to help.
That's good, good and exciting news
Yeah.
for the hospitality program. One question that we've got in several of these discipline dialogues, and I think it lends itself really well to hospitality, is what does a typical site visit look like with the dual credit instructors? And I say that because especially for our new dual credit instructors, I think oftentimes the perspective taken, or at least what they're used to, is their principal coming and doing a formal evaluation, which can kind of sometimes come across as punitive or heavy-handed. And I can say, at least from my statewide position, that's not what we're going for with a site visit. Kind of tying back it to NASEP, that discussion we had earlier, we do want to make sure the course objectives are being met, the rigor of a college class is being upheld. But I can say that we being the college often learn a lot and pick up best practices from our dual credit instructors that we take back to on campus for on campus courses. And it's very much a collaborative two-way street, so to speak, where it's meant to, build that relationship among colleagues to rely upon each other. Rather than, going in and saying, like, aha, we caught you doing something wrong, fix this right now. So that's a long preamble for my perspective, but as a program chair, what would you be looking for? What typically happens during a site visit?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Again, while it does kind of fall in that category of compliance for accreditation, it's really not about the teaching style of the instructor so much. It is more about the content. And as you mentioned, we just need to make sure that the learning objectives are being met, and we understand that they may be met in a different way because our dual credit teachers have the academic freedom to meet the objectives however they see fit. What I've appreciated about the high school program, and again, you're right that we draw from best practices, you have more contact hours with your students than we do for those dual credit classes. And I remember a site visit I did at Westfield High School, and the course I was visiting was HOSP 101, Sanitation and Safety, but she was also kind of merging or aligning those objectives with basic food theory and skills and nutrition. And so I think that's very creative. So she was teaching the students about the two-stage cooling method for food safety when they were making soups, which aligned to their basic foods theory class. And then she was also having them do recipe modifications of their soup recipes. And so they were learning about nutritional analysis and modification while they're making their soups, but they're also understanding how to cool them properly using the two-stage cooling method. So I could see that she was meeting the learning objectives for food safety, but I also was impressed to see how she had cleverly woven together those learning objectives from multiple courses. So she was teaching 101 and 102, which are that principles level in the pathway. And it's great when they can be aligned and taught together in that way. She was even weaving nutrition into it, and I love that. It was great to see. But in terms of a site visit and expectations, the checklist we have really is just about seeing are the learning objectives being met. And again, we just kind of make notes about how you're meeting those objectives, understanding you can do that in very creative ways. And so we like to just make note of that, just to document the fact from a compliance standpoint that yes, you are indeed meeting the learning objectives. So yeah, I don't ever get too concerned about, you know, teaching style per se, so everybody has their own teaching style, and I understand the methodology is going to vary from teacher to teacher. We don't get hung up on that.
You mentioned, when talking about academic freedom, and then also just, helping build that relationship with the instructor and opportunities available to dual credit students. I know that you had mentioned previously before we started this meeting about the World Food Championships and
Yeah,
credit
thank you.
students. So maybe take this opportunity here to, I'm sure during a site visit you would mention this. So for everyone who's on the recording here and then on the call, why don't you touch base about that quickly?
Yeah, I could recognize names, of course, the participants that are here, but some of you I saw at the World Food Championship. So thank you for bringing your students and competing in the junior chef category. If you're unfamiliar, you might want to just Google it and you can find the website. And there's good video content there of recap of the World Food Championship. But on the first day, which was Friday of that week, I think it was like November 7th or something, um, Ivy Tech sponsored the junior chef category. And it's rather new for a World Food Championship. The event itself is maybe 20 years old or something, but this is like second or third year of doing junior chef. And really the first year that they collaborated with a culinary program to do it. And so where we were kind of um, pioneers of sorts in doing this at the Indianapolis site at the state fairgrounds. We learned a lot from it. It was a lot of fun. Thank you again. I recognize Carrie Douglas from Columbus. Carrie brought her students. Many teachers came. Students from the Fort Wayne area came, and we had a great showing. Carmel High School ended up winning that day. The students from that program, and what we're excited about moving forward is that we hope to build a pipeline of culinary competition. It's kind of the culture at the high school level. and integrate that with what we do with Skills USA. And so we're talking to Kelly Baker, like at some point, do we look at integrating Skills USA or aligning it to Junior Chef at the World Food Championship? And then, what we do with Pro Start competition as well. And in that culture of culinary competition, we know that a lot of learning happens. There's a lot of creative thinking that takes place. The students obviously demonstrate their skill, and they grow so much through those experiences. But we also believe that that would set the tone for building this pipeline of culinary competition in the state of Indiana, that they would evolve to one day be on Team Indiana and represent our state in the World Food Championships, and that Indiana would become known as a culinary hub, not only for the Midwest, but for the entire country. And so it's excited to see some of you participating in it already from the beginning, and others. We hope to see you next year at World Food Championship. Hope that you'll bring some students to compete, or at least just come and watch, and see how it goes. Sometimes it's fun just to observe and glean from that, and then prepare to come back next year with students to compete.
Yeah, it sounds like a nice, fun opportunity for dual credit students and the hospitality program to really showcase all of their skills. So,
Totally.
neat opportunity there. I would like to take a moment and just remind our dual credit instructors of a couple of different things. One, once again, going back to some of those NASEP things, we do have the professional development modules that are on Ivy Learn or Canvas. That is a requirement that instructors complete that annually. It's not due till April 1st, so you have 5 months to get that completed. Should just take you a couple of hours, but as you approach maybe Christmas break and you want to knock that out real quickly, you could do that then or some other time. But just wanted to send out a friendly reminder to please complete that before the April 1st deadline. And then also there are a couple of things that are available for our dual credit instructors that they might not be aware of. So we always like to bring awareness to that. One includes taking up to 6 credit hours for free with the college every semester. So that includes either yourself or your spouse or your dependent. So if you have some kids that are going to Ivy Tech, they can get 6 credit hours free tuition. That's typically 2 classes. Most of our classes are 3 credit hours. But that's every semester. Each course running a little more than $500. So just round it off, say $1,000 in tuition savings each semester. That can add up over a couple of years. The only caveat is that you've had to have been a dual credit instructor for at least a year before you can take advantage of that. But if you are interested in that, reach out to your K-14 director. They'll get in touch with the local campus HR department. It's a DocuSign document, a couple of little things paperwork wise to get that all squared away, but it's a fairly painless process to get that done. And then also anyone with an Ivy Tech email address, so this does include our students as well, but you're able to download the Microsoft Office products for free. So think Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all that stuff. If you have a subscription at home, it typically runs, I think we looked it up and it was like $106 and some odd cents annually. So if you have an active Ivy Tech email address, you can download all of that and save yourself $100 a year as well. So keep those things in mind. Lastly here, before we open it up to any Q&A that the group might have, we are recording this on December 4th. That's a week before the new high school diploma requirements and high school redesign is unveiled at the next State Board of Education meeting on Wednesday, December 11th. So I do offer the caveat that what we're discussing here may be changing in the next week or so. But there are all signs point to work-based learning opportunities really being something that's going to be emphasized with new high school diploma requirements, especially in the CTE space. Chef Brooker, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I don't know if there's anything that you could think of in particular, but thinking about trying to get high school students maybe 80 hours of work-based learning before they graduate high school. What kind of partnerships Internships, typically most pathways have like a 280 course that's available for those types of things. Anyways, all that to kind of word vomit and say, like, what are your thoughts on that, and things that maybe a school or career center should think of as those new requirements roll out?
Yeah, actually, I've been working with some of our dual credit teachers on that topic. I'm thinking of Clint Smith down at Central 9 in Greenwood, who's actually doing a master's program, and his focus is on work-based learning. And he actually has integrated a couple of years ago with his students. All the seniors there have that opportunity. They go out and get credit for their work-based learning. And he has partners through his advisory council that host it at their restaurants, at senior living communities, or those kind of kitchens around the community. We've actually been creative and worked with some of his students to come on campus and do that, not from a work for pay, but just more of an internship opportunity or job shadow. They've come and shadowed in our restaurant, Courses Restaurant, with our classes, and it gave them an opportunity to meet a shadow requirement initially. But then I know that that kind of sets the tone for career exploration that may lead to a work-based learning opportunity. But our industry is just really full of employers looking for help. And I think they would embrace certainly the opportunity for more work-based learning with high school seniors.
Yeah, kind of talking or thinking abstractly from like a statewide position, as I mentioned earlier, you know, um, I think high schools and career centers, as they look at these new graduation requirements, anything that lends itself to helping students graduate, but meeting these work-based learning requirements,
Mm.
I think it's a natural fit for a school to kind of lean into that type of programming. So, for our instructors on the call here, as you have meetings with your administration, in the coming weeks and months, about what your program looks like, think about some of those different things. And if you have ideas or questions, reach out to Chef Bricker or your local program chair, to bounce off different ideas. Of course, it could be a great topic at a site visit as well. Like, we're happy to help and try to connect the dots however we can, with the evolving landscape of education in Indiana. So we've been talking for about almost a half hour here, 25 minutes or so. Wanted to make sure we offer the opportunity for anyone who's on the call, if they do have any questions, to come off mute and ask that. Of course, we don't have to use the entire time. And if we have no questions, that's fine. But we want to make sure that anyone that does have any questions, that wants to take advantage of the opportunity, has a chance to do so. So I'll be quiet for at least 5 or 10 seconds and wait to see if anyone has anything to say. Okay, well, not hearing any questions. I did put my name and email in the chat. Chef Parker, if you could do the same too, just in case anyone on the call doesn't have your email, they can reach out to you as well. Before we end, I always like to close all this by these discipline dialogues by thanking our dual credit instructors. Across the state of Indiana, we have about 3,700 dual credit instructors, and in 60 programs offering about 350 dual credit courses, thousands of sections. We're on pace probably for around 95,000 dual credit students this year, and the high school graduating class will probably have about 10,000 or 11,000 completions. So things, certificates, technical certificates, associate degrees as well, being earned by high school students in high school, and in most situations at no cost to students. Probably in almost every situation, no cost to the students. And so, we want to thank our dual credit instructors who are the backbone of all of that. The state of Indiana is very uniquely placed compared to the other 49 states when it comes to dual credit offerings and also college completions by high school students. If you ever look at a listing of pick any dual credit metric and you'll see the top 3 or 4 states. Indiana is always in there, which is largely Ivy Tech. And then you'll see other gigantic states like Texas and California and Florida. So it really shows how the state is, punching above its weight and doing all kinds of great things that other states would just can't even dream of, that we're decades ahead of. So, but that's all built with the help of our dual credit instructors. And we know it requires extra work on your part, whether it's syllabi, site visits, PD, all those types of things. And it's usually done out of the goodness of your heart, to provide those opportunities to your student. It's not lost among all kinds of different stakeholder groups. So wanted to thank you for all of that. So with that, we'll give you back a little bit of your time for the rest of the day. I want to thank Chef Bricker again for joining. Anything in closing before we dismiss the group here?
I just want to say thanks to everyone for your time. I know you're busy. Appreciate all that you do. Thanks,
Yeah,
Buck, too.
we appreciate it. And thank you to all those watching this YouTube recording as well. So thank you very much and have a good rest of your day.